On the Italian front, from Cassino to the sea, the German Gustav line is penetrated as General Alexander and General Clark attack with artillery. Big guns blasting away on an 85-mile front from the Adriatic to the Tyrrhenian Sea. Allied infantrymen move up in the wake of the opening 2-hour barrage. American tanks wait to advance. Street fighting is from house to house. In Italy, the new campaign is underway.
The class distinction was dropped overseas. Forget about it. You worked with one another. I got along fine with them. And they with me, and most of the guys got along fine with the officers. It was almost on a first-name basis. There was no lieutenant. In fact, when you were in combat or you were on a drive or you were on a push, don't call me lieutenant and don't call me captain, because they didn't want to be identified if there were snipers in the area.
So I moved up with my lieutenant, and as soon as we got out the top of the hill, the lieutenant got killed. So I didn't know exactly what to do. So I said, is there any officers around? So some kid said to me, there's an officer behind that boulder over there. So I went over. I said, Lieutenant, what are we supposed to do? He said, see that farmhouse on that other mountain over there? Take that farmhouse. And Italy in the mountains, this particular place was all terraces. So most of the men went along the terrace, and I kept bouncing up, and I wound up between 3 machine gun nests. And at the time, I didn't know there were 3 machine gun nests, but I only seen one firing, and I had 3 hand grenades with me. So I went over to the nest, and I threw the 3 hand grenades, and I hit with one and killed a couple of guys, and I missed with the other 2. And there was one guy left in the nest, and I was trying to get him with my rifle, and he was shooting at me with a pistol. Finally, he threw a couple of hand grenades at me and missed, and I waited for him to come up, and I finally hit him, and he went down. So I was going up behind the 2nd machine gun. I got up there, and the 2 Germans were bouncing away, and they never seen me coming because their nest was open. And I stuck my bayonet between their helmets, and I banged their helmets. They surrendered to me. I took their guns, and I chased them down the hill. Some of my men picked them up. So finally, something told me to turn around, and I turned around, and down about 3 terraces, 4 terraces down, there was a German with a machine pistol at my back, and I didn't know why he didn't shoot me. So I stood up, and I jumped down, and I had a fixed bayonet, and I started to scream, and I came at him, and he threw the machine gun down, the machine pistol down, and he threw his hands up, and he came up the terrace, and I told him, no, go back. And then he yelled something, and a bunch of Germans come out of the 3rd machine gun position, and they surrendered to me. Next thing you know, the decorations officer, Italian decorations officer, called me down a couple of weeks later. He says, put your citation in to division, went up all the way to Army, and Army said, put it in for a higher decoration. And he only had decorations as a Medal of Honor. So we changed a few words, and instead of saying machine gun bullets hit the ground, where the deadly hail of machine gun bullets hit the ground. He made it a little more dramatic. And finally, they put me in for the Medal of Honor. And after that, I couldn't get any more medals.
When we got up there, going up is where you started to learn about war. There were shells coming in and shells going out, and you don't know which was which, but you soon learned.
When they landed, I heard the sound, and there was shrapnel coming into my foxhole, and they were hitting my helmet. A few days later, when we pulled back, the chaplain started to ask us questions, and I told him that just what happened, that the planes overhead dropped bombs. He says, didn't you say any prayer? I said, oh, of course I said prayer. I was really praying real hard. And he says, what did you say? I said, oh, I hope it don't come in. I hope it don't come in. I hope it don't come in. And he was amazed. He thought I would say some other type of a prayer. And I explained to him I had no time to say anything else, no other prayer.
And this German machine gun opened up on us, and we had to hit the ground. So there's a big hole from the aircraft. They had dropped it, and I dove into it. and there was a lot of water in it. So I'm trying to squat without getting too wet, and yet I couldn't put my head up. This cherry had us measured in. So I look across me about 10 foot away. I see this blanket, so I pull it back. It's a German soldier. And he looked like a clerk. I mean, he didn't look like a combat soldier, but a clerk. And he's telling me, nichts schiessen, nichts schiessen. I said, good. Sprechen, good. Nichts sprechen. So he knew what I meant by it. I mean, I figured he knew, I couldn't speak German. So then they took my hand, they kissed it and thanked me so much, I guess foreigners all do that, kissing hands. And so I'm squatting there, and I know we'd send out an outfit to knock this machine gun out, so it's no use me putting my head up. All of a sudden, this German grabs me around the throat. And actually, it's a good thing I was pretty strong. He's got me, I see blue already. So the only way I got it, I slid back under the water, the mud. He let go, and then I took my gun, I smashed his head in. Threw him out of the hole, and as I did this damn machine gun, cut him in half, but the goddamn blood went all over me, and I had about 2 weeks, I had this German blood uniform, because you can't just go to the PX and get a new clothes. And that was enough of him. But see, I want to give him a chance, and he's taking my life.
Part of the war is propaganda, trying to make the other guy feel bad and so forth and so on. And we shot propaganda to the German troops and they to us.
Axis Sally was an American woman who lived in Germany who broadcast to the troops a psychological warfare, really, trying to persuade them not to fight.
Well, she had a lot to say about maybe the English should worry about the Americans taking out their girls back in England.
And believe it or not, and back at the Fifth Army Rest Center in Italy, this brought on some fight between the American MPs and the British MPs. It took them at least 3 hours to clean it up.
She was the woman who commented about the 88th and said, the 88th were not gentlemen, we fought like devils. And that's where we got the nickname Blue Devils.
But she also played some very wonderful big band sounds, and I was quite a Harry James and Benny Goodman and Tommy Dorsey fan, and she did play some very good records. And she also gave us our nickname, the Blue Devils, because she said we didn't fight fair, and was very complimentary to us.
When we got up to Cassino, they sent the forward observer parties up, and it was hell. I mean, Cassino was one of the worst places I had read about, and now I seen for myself. In fact, I seen them bringing down GIs across the backs of mules. That was the only way they could transport them down. And this kind of hardened you.
Going through the valleys and going through the mountains, it was the most horrible stink you ever can imagine, because it was dead Germans, dead horses, dead cows, dead goats, and the stink that they left off took months, took years before it left your nostrils.
I was in combat there, and I was pretty much a loner at that time. I used to know everybody, but I never got too chummy with them, because every time anybody got too chummy with somebody else, the guy got killed, he was always moaning and this, and you never watched out for yourself then. And I seen it happen a couple of times.
What does remind me of this is that this is where my best friend was killed. He had been in a castle at the top when the Germans were shelling. Someone outside was hurt. The colonel ordered everybody to remain inside until the shelling stopped. Very typically of Jack, he sneaked out and went out to rescue the injured man, and then as he reached them, a shell came in and killed him.